And hopefully, I can hear just fine. Hopefully, they'll allow this.
Okay, let's try it and
All
see.
right. Can Chris hear me?
Can you hear Crystal?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, cool.
Perfect. First of all, happy holidays, and how are you, sir?
Hey, same to you. I'm good, thank you. How's your vacation?
You know, it was okay. I mean, I did a lot of thinking about you because I left for vacation from, I stayed on the Queen Mary out there and met up with Mike, your main investigator. And he and I can't stop talking when we start talking about your situation. And so I just wanted to give you the happy holiday from him as well. And by the way, Stacy from Mike, he wants a double X shirt and will pay you like whenever,
Okay,
however.
yeah.
So
I'll get that for
we
him.
got that out of the way, and it was great to meet Mike Konzaki. As you've always said, he's one of the good cops out there. Not all cops are bad, and it's hard because what happens is when bad things happen around police officers, they all get lumped in. And I think I learned the expression from you, Kit, something like, one bad apple, is all it really takes.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Yeah, you get one lying cop and one cop that plants evidence or something like that, and it changes everybody. It is the same in the Army. You used to call it the strategic corporal
Yeah.
or specialist. You get a soldier out there, and he does something dumb on camera or says something bad on camera, and then everybody else is kind of held accountable for that, in the media.
Hey, let's talk about right now what we are really kind of hanging on to is I know it's a long shot, and I've been calling it the Hail Mary pass, the reconsideration from the Kentucky Supreme Court. And you've put a lot of this down. I mean, we've just done a lot of talking, not only over the phone, but you and I email back and forth. And some of the things that are sticking with me is what I wanted to talk with you about today, if that's okay with you, Stacy.
Absolutely.
All right, I want
Absolutely.
to dig right into this because Stacy and I kind of went over this earlier, and she has a lot to say about some of this as well. We want to talk about how hearsay was allowed because of the alt perp, but the alt perp was allowed to plead the fifth. Now, just saying that may mean nothing to no one, but Stacy, can you kind of explain what that means?
What I understood that to mean was in the defense, Joan Harmon was named as an alternative suspect, is the way that I understand that, which is for obvious reasons. So from what I understood, and as Chris or Kit had mentioned earlier in our last episode, that, when someone else, that it's a lot of legal terminology when you file any kind of, or when attorneys file a petition. But from common or layman language, basically it means the defense used the strategy that there was an alternative suspect, and so therefore they use that as a reason, from what I understand, to allow hearsay, which I don't understand. Is that what you got from it, Chris?
Kind of, yeah. So she was never charged, though, so it hasn't been yet. So the ability to use to plead the fifth and not answer, that doesn't make sense. And then, of course, the jury saw none of that because the judge didn't allow it to happen in front of the jury. So they were totally clueless about all that going on. And hearsay is not supposed to be allowed. But if you're going to allow it, at least allow it for both sides, the prosecution and the defense.
Absolutely.
In the trial, it was obvious that, it was all the hearsay the prosecution wanted to admit was allowed. But when the defense wanted to just get in some minor statements that people have said, that was like all the hearings leading up to the trial, it was all very one-sided.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I have a question, and Crystal, we talked about this earlier, and Kit, you may be able to shed some light on this. Throughout the trial, we kept hearing the name Joan Harmon, but I do not remember once in the trial Elijah being named as an suspect. Am I right about that?
Yeah, as far as I know, he was never brought up. But of course, he was given the same plead the fifth privileges, outside of the jury. But we know. The evidence shows it's pretty obvious that since his mother had the phone, that the victim's phone, it was tracked to her house.
Yeah.
Right. I don't mean to interrupt you, Chris, but let's not name him. He wasn't named in a trial, and that is my point. Is he was of age, He had a separate attorney than Joan had. So even if she was given that opportunity to plead the fifth because of some preceding case, why would that apply to him? Because he wasn't named as an alternate suspect. He had his separate attorney. So you couldn't group those two together. So why did he not have to testify? That is the question that I have.
Yeah, I'm not a lawyer, and I don't think it made sense to the lawyers either. What was weird in the trial, too, was that both the prosecution and the defense wanted Joan to testify. And originally the judge was going to allow it, and then at the last second, he reversed himself and shot both sides down, which it was just kind of weird. So, that's the way it worked out.
Okay, so the alt perp here, as they call it in the actual Supreme Court document that I saw, alt perp is the word that they're using. So if Joni is the alt perp, right? Did you ever say or do anything to get Cal or Pam mad at you, Kit? I mean, I'm just wondering why they feared you so much.
That had to be planted in their heads by somebody else, because I'd had no contact with them for 3.5 years. I had met them when we first moved there. They invited us to a festival that Sean and I attended, when I thought Joan was actually my wife. And then that was about it. Then after that, I went and did some target shooting in his backyard. And Joan later on did a concealed weapons class with him and with Ed and some other people in his backyard. So,
wow.
But after that, I didn't really have much contact with him. He was coming over a lot. He tried to talk to me a lot. He'd always kind of say the same things. It was kind of, I got a really weird vibe off of him. And then, I saw that he had some stuff that he shouldn't have had, and I just kind of broke contact with him, and I just tried not to have anything to do with him. He was kind of known in town as kind of the weird guy, and people made jokes out of all the time. And when I first heard that, even at church, I was actually pretty offended, because he was a veteran in this country, and I thought that was inappropriate, and I kind of defended him. But as I hung around him, I saw things that I didn't agree with, and I just chose not to be around him anymore. So I had very little contact with him, even less with Pam. And of course, Ed, I saw every once in a while. He was kind of a friend, but he lived half the time in another town, and only part of the time in Pembroke, Copeland.
Crystal, if you don't mind, I want to take that a step further. As Kit said, someone planted that fear in their mind, I believe. If that fear existed, if those statements were made that were hearsay, because again, we know that was hearsay. But if you remember on a previous episode that we did, the patterns of Joan, first she accuses, and I'll go through this quickly, but she accuses her own father. She goes to Child Protective Services at 14 or 15 years old and said he was molesting and abusing her.
Right.
Then she goes to Michael Adkins, Elijah's father, and when they're done, she runs to Carlos Guerra and says that Michael's abusing her. And then she comes to what I can speak to, and Chris can speak to, as she comes to Chris, meets him, and she's all of a sudden, Carlos Guerra is this horrible person, abusing her, molesting her, won't let her children brush their teeth. I mean, it was horrible. I mean, she had Kit and most of us convinced that Carlos was trying to harm her. So I feel certain that it only makes sense she went to Calvin and Pam and tried to convince them that there was reason to fear Kit, as she had done in all her other situations.
That's exactly how it went down. It's just in my opinion. I know it's just in your opinion, and this is all for content and educational purposes only, of course. But you couldn't have said any more of the truth there, my girl.
Well, Kit, is that what you think probably happened? I mean...
Yeah, you see in the timeline that the private investigators put together, that she had made EPL claims against other people, like Carlos, for example. And in there, this is back in 2004, she listed specific charges, like you mentioned, of abuse and all this kind of thing. And 8 years later, when she was trying to do it to me, she listed the exact same charges. She used the same game plan that she had with Carlos on me, and she probably used the same thing on Carlos that she had on Mike, and then their dad and all that kind of thing. So she knows how to work the system, and how to, so you constantly up the ante. So she'll try APO and that didn't work, for abusing a girl. Then she said, well, it was abuse against the kids. And that got investigated. That didn't work. So then she escalated to, I'm an international spy. It's just constant escalation of charges and allegations over the 18 months. And each time she did that, then, a new agency would get involved and a new agency would investigate.
Right. Well, Crystal, to speak to what he just said, and you can cut this out, I guess, if we can't.
No, I'm listening to both of you, every word.
But isn't there a taped conversation where Joan actually is telling another individual how they can get over on the system and how it works?
Yes, there is. And yes, I think we should out that. I think after the first of the year, I'm not going to do that right now because it's Christmas time and it's icky. And it's watching a snake reach up and try to grab something. I mean, it truly is horrifying just listening to her tell these stories. So I figured after the first of the year, we can just let it ride. I think that
it kind of seems to be fitting with what Kit just said about she knows the system and how to work it. Is what I was thinking.
I mean, she does. And if you listen to that, and we will after the first of the year, I promise. I've been holding on to that. Kit, you paid good money for a private detective, right? So that is part of the private detective stuff that Kit actually paid for. And I think we should out it. I think we should absolutely put it out there.
At this point, I'm not really worried about Harsh. I just think we need to put the facts out there. Seriously.
Yeah. The facts are that you're right. She's got a pattern. And if we follow the pattern that she has done really since a teenager, because her father fears her as well. And we know that for a fact. But Kit, what are your thoughts on this Hail Mary pass? And it is a Hail Mary pass, but it's the reconsideration. And if it were to happen that you get a big Christmas present, do we know what's next? I mean, what is it, a new trial that we're going for there?
I guess that was the original intent. That's rarely granted. It's difficult. But what the sitting judges, said, and they obviously can speak better to the law than I can, but it opens up a huge hole now in Kentucky for the use of hearsay and pleading the fifth now. So if they let it stand like they have right now in order to cover my case, then it's going to be a problem for all cases in the future. So basically, it's open door for all hearsay now.
Oh my God! That is such a big deal. I can't believe every lawyer in the world isn't watching this right now because that's a big, big decision. And they've already made the decision once, and this is for reconsideration. So they made the decision not to grant you or go ahead and uphold the conviction, as it were. So what we're looking for. Go ahead.
Right. You remember 2 of them did not think that is right. 2 of them wrote a dissenting opinion that, no, they should not allow that because with hearsay, it painted him in such a bad light that there's no way that the jury's opinion was not tainted from that.
Right, and the judge actually said, this was actually the only thing they had due to, he said, I think words were underwhelming evidence in the case is the way he put it. Basically, that they didn't have any evidence. They were just using the hearsay to come in. And the hearsay was not included in any of the discovery that I was given prior to the trial. Oh. They tried to get me to plead for a 5-year to 13-year sentence. Essentially they said that I probably would go to prison, but I wasn't going to plead guilty to any kind of felony, for something I didn't do, and that's why they went all out in the trial. About 99% of inmates probably, from what I've seen, will take a plea deal because they know the system and they just want to get out of jail because jail is so miserable. And that's the way they usually work. They'll offer plea deal, people will take the plea deal, and that's it. There's a crime, they want some kind of arrest, they get arrested, they just need some kind of conviction for a win, and then they're all happy in the injustice industry.
Oh, injustice industry is right. Hey, I want to just go ahead and give the shout out where it belongs. Judge Jay Nickel and Judge Jay Conley. We can't thank you enough for getting it. Man, you get it. And what happens, and here's exactly what they wrote. These are Supreme Court justices in Kentucky, and they wrote, given the otherwise underwhelming evidence against Martin, I have no doubt the erroneous admission of this irrelevant and extremely prejudicial hearsay evidence warrants reversal. Reversal. Unbelievable. Thank you so much again to Judge Nickel and Connolly for seeing the truth in this case, for the love of God. That just gave me a little bit of hope for mankind. And again, even though it's a Hail Mary pass, and I understand that, for some reason, they didn't do it before Christmas, and they were supposed to. I think we were supposed to have an answer by like the 10th or something like that, right, Stacey?
I think it was the 5th, but usually in these cases, there's always extensions granted because for every time someone makes a petition, the other side has an opportunity to write a rebuttal.
Yeah.
So, but now it is in chambers. I've been checking it daily, and it's been in chambers since December 1st.
Hearsay is all they really had, isn't it, Kit?
Yeah. And like I said, I wasn't even aware of it because it wasn't in a discovery. There was no DNA. They did 108 DNA tests, no fingerprints, no eyewitnesses, no ballistics. Actually, all the physical evidence, when you take it all together, you realize it actually shows my innocence. And it showed that somebody was trying really, really hard to set me up. The shell casing showing up 5 months later, but not the right type of shell casing. Doesn't match the type of bullets used. The bullets used don't match, my gun. The dog tag that was obviously planted, it had, 75% incorrect information. Those were somebody was working really hard to put evidence at the scene weeks and months later
left
to try and get something to happen there.
Yeah.
And so like I said, when you look at, I almost thanked the prosecutor when I took the stand. You say, "Hey, thank you for proving my innocence from all your expert witnesses."
Mm-hmm.
That's the way it was.
So welcome back. We are the Free Kit Martin podcast now. And that over there is Stacey Stone, the ex-wife, the one and only ex-wife, I'd like to say, of Kit Martin, mother of his 3 children. How are you doing, darling?
I'm okay. How are you doing, Miss Crystal?
You have done some really good work online, I see this week. You're up talking to Kit's Warriors, which is great. By the way, there's a Kit's Warriors Facebook page, and you can join us right there on Facebook. We would love to have you. It's a private page.
It's called Kit Martin's Warriors, and you can just send a friend request. It is a private group for obvious reasons. And you can send a friend request, and we will add you to the group. And there we will keep you updated. And we have Mr. Kit calling right now, so let me pick up the call.
All right. The Kit Martin case attracted national attention. You may remember he was the ex-American Airlines pilot that was convicted. What was it, 3.5 years or so? They finally arrested him 2 more years. So it was like 5.5 years after the murders. They took him down for it, the state of Kentucky.
Hey, Krista, we have Mr. Kit on the phone again.
Well, hello, Mr. Kit. It's great to have you back. We've missed you. So tell me, just out of curiosity, what is a Christmas like? You've done a few of them there now in jail. What is a Christmas like for an innocent man to be sitting? I know you've got a lot on your mind, but what are you doing to take your mind off of things, and especially on something like Christmas?
Yeah, so anything I can. We just celebrated the Hanukkah. Just finished that. So we had 8 days of Hanukkah. We sang songs and lit the Hanukkah lights and read scripture, shared scripture together.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it's been a great opportunity. I've traveled around a lot in the past, and I've gotten to do a lot of things to see, different perspectives. But I never really got a chance to see like the Jewish perspective.
Yeah.
And so I'm learning a lot about how Jesus, how he would have grown up, the festivals and ceremonies that he would have experienced and participated in. And it's really opened my eyes a lot to the scriptures. And when he's saying things, in his parables, things like that, the references that he's making, it really helps with the understanding of that.
What a great message here on Christmas, truly, as we lead up to we're on the week leading up to Christmas here. And I know what it's about in my family, what it's always been about growing up as a Christian. This is Jesus' birthday. But those in the Jewish world and their Hanukkah celebration is truly remarkable. And I'm so glad you got to experience some of that with your Jewish friends there.
Yeah, what's cool is we have, we play for the church, so got one buddy who's a Muslim, anybody who's Jewish, the buddies that are Christian, and we all come together and play music together, almost every day.
Huh.
So that's an awesome experience where everybody just works together and respects each other, and it's a great example.
Yeah, and not to mention what it probably does to your soul. I mean, what it does for your soul, rather,
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah, so we all learn from each other, and, I don't have much music experience, so they basically put up with me. And, hopefully one day you'll be able to get Todd out there with you, and you can play some of the music that we recorded together and everything. But, there's some really talented guys in here, and, I've never really, I was always so busy in the military or in the airlines and everything, and I never really had a chance to take the time to learn, music, and never really had a lot of time either to get into the scriptures like I wanted to. So I'm trying to take advantage of that here, and it's, really been enlightening for me.
Yeah. Now, I know that they have a program there for dogs. Are you able to get in on any of that action, or?
I do have a program for dogs now. I would love to be in that, but because of the allegations that Joan made and everything, I'm not able to do that.
No.
So I get to see the dogs, and I get to pet them every once in a while out in the yard. And, they raise these little puppies until they're about 2 or 3 months old, and then they try to make them become service dogs. They give it to another agency that works with them and make them service. So it's a great benefit to everybody. It really helps the inmates. Seeing being able to interact with a cute little puppy.
I know.
And also long-term effects with service dogs, being able to help veterans and other people that have disabilities or whatever. So it's a great win-win all the way around, I think.
So let me understand this. She made allegations that would keep you from being able to participate in the dog program, but yet you can preach and teach the Bible and help the people get their GEDs, right? Is that what you just said?
Yeah. Where I did apply for the program, and I was told I couldn't be in it. But I'm glad that other guys are able to do that, and so we're still able to see it from time to time in the yard. And so I'm happy for that at least.
Yeah. Well, Crystal, we need another Joan episode, I'm seeing.
I do agree. I can't think about anything else right now. Joan, the banks close on days that we do Joni episodes here on the Free Kit Martin podcast because everybody wants to hear it. And I'm telling you, we have got a whole fistful, if you will, of information that we've just gained in like a week here that we cannot wait to get on and tell you. And let's just do that next week. Let that be the Christmas present for all of these Kit Martin people out here that have been supporting him over the years, Yeah,
I'd like to explain how Joan Harmon has suddenly become a wealthy woman, wouldn't you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I wonder who's following the money.
Who she is today, because she was Joan Harmon, she's Joan Garrett, she's supposedly Joan Martin, then she's Joan Creighton, or just Joe. She was around every month to gets a new victim and then moves on to the next one.
Well, she is officially, I don't know if it's officially, because I don't know if she's legally done that or not. I will find out. That's a promise. But she is now going by Adele Joan Gritton, which I believe was her stepfather's last name.
Wow.
Yeah, one of her stepfathers, I believe that's his name. He was he was a sheriff. I met the guy. He was actually a real nice guy. But
he was a sheriff?
I wish when I'd had that opportunity. Yeah, I was a sheriff in Oregon. I wish when it came out when I was at the Naval War College, and I got to be in for a week or so. I wish I'd talked to her mother a little bit more, because then I would have found out very quickly that everything she basically told me about her life was all a lie. But I was so busy with that the master's program there that I didn't get a chance to really talk. end up with the mother. But all her stories about her family, about her upbringing, everything was, everything about Carlos, everything about Michael Atkins, all this. Everything was just basically. She didn't even tell her own son that his father had been decapitated, and there's crazy stories that were all not true.
Yeah.
Well, offline, Chris, I'd like to get some more information about this sheriff in Oregon, okay?
Yeah, we'll definitely do that too. That also raised my eyebrows. So her stepfather is a sheriff in Oregon, a nice guy, Kit says.
Well,
Yeah.
he was a sheriff. He's retired now, but I mean, he had never met her before, and he only had the amount of time that he had when he was visiting us.
Oh, okay.
In Rhode Island.
And
so he
And here she is.
He's never seen her again after that.
She's wielding his last name like a new hat. It's like just unbelievable how many. And also, Joni, she tends to change the children's names too. I mean, I've seen that a couple of times. EJ.
Yeah, she changed Elijah's from
Elijah Justin.
Justin Michael.
Yeah.
Justin Michael Atkins to Justin Elijah, but then she called him EJ, which she even got the initials backwards. So yeah, she keeps me confused. At best.
Well, we're gonna have a Joni episode for Christmas.
She did that to keep him from his father, and just basically kidnapped him from his father, Michael Atkins, and then after she, had him, telling him that his father had been decapitated for 18 years, right before Elijah turned 18. He went back to the child support services in Oregon and requested the back child support for 18 years. So, she really messed Michael over really badly. But yeah, as you can see on the, if we have it in the timeline, you can see where she was changing his name and saying that Michael Atkins wasn't the father, that he was the father, that he wasn't the father, and then when she wanted the money, he was the father again. So, especially lied to her children and everybody that she pretty much ever encountered, I think.
So let's, if you don't mind, let's quickly go over this real quick because I'm trying to digest this. I'd like for our listeners to be able to. We got someone that was Major Kit Martin in the military, never a traffic citation, not even a traffic citation, no trouble with the law ever. We've got that. He's sitting in prison for 3 murders, an American hero. I mean, that's the least we could say. He is that. Mm-hmm. And then on this side, we've got whatever her name is today, Joan, Adele, Harmon, Martin, Guerra, whatever it is. And she has changed birth certificates, forged to get passports. She has accused her husband of being decapitated. We find his head is attached. She's made accusations against every man she's ever known for some type of abuse, and she's out there running free.
Yeah.
No.
It's
is not
right.
going to work that way.
Yeah.
No.
So for Christmas, that's what we're going to give you. Next week, you get another Joni episode because we just keep learning more, and we can't keep our mouths shut around here, can we? I mean, it's just time that you start hearing these Joni stories because really, we feel like there's some sort of there's something missing in this whole equation, and that's that she's free and you're not, Kit. I can't even believe it.
Yeah, what was really interesting is when I got Mike, my PI, to do the background checks. He actually talked to her mother, her father, and her sister, and each of them spoke for about 2 hours. And the stories that they told were just unbelievable. I mean, she basically been a sociopath her whole life, and of course that wasn't allowed in a trial. But we have the recordings of that. Just as we have the recordings of her. Trying to tell a woman who was actually another private investigator that, her daughter should, not divorce her husband, should just kidnap the children, and run off with them, and basically espousing bigamy and things like that. Same things that she basically does.
Yeah.
The system can be so manipulated, and there's no national database for like emergency protective orders. So, a person can, abuse those systems really bad, and you don't have any way of finding out about it. Mm-hmm. So you can have a chronicle serial accuser, like what you hear with her, and there's no real protection for you. You can do background checks, and they won't show up. So that's unfortunate. Hopefully, that can be changed one day.
Well, I'm wondering course, we watch this stuff on TV. How much of it is true? How much of it's not? But I'm wondering when we are granted a new trial, is it possible for her to be required to go under psychological evaluation? Because we aren't qualified for that. We can see what's happening. Common sense could tell you this, but I've heard psychopath, I've heard sociopath, and in my experience with her, she's both.
Mm-hmm.
That's my opinion. So
I actually had some psychiatrists call me after the trial, and based off of information that they had read and seen and stuff, they were telling me, some of the stuff. And I actually had other people mail me checklists of sociopaths and everything, and basically checked every box. You know what I mean? So yeah, but it's definitely something that should have been brought in. But when the person's allowed to plead the fifth, and not even in front of the jury, and the jury doesn't know anything about all this, it makes it really difficult. So, like I said, hopefully there could be some changes in the system down the road.
Yeah.
And, the part is, especially with military service members, this is really going on with service members. And there are people out there putting websites telling them how to falsely accuse a military service member, how to get all the free benefits that are available. You basically just have to pick a guy out or a female out, and they're, like the trail is over. And it works for civilians and other people that are in the service. So,
I mean, this right now in the service is just running rampant, and you actually got to serve 90 days out there in Leavenworth and see it for yourself. How many of those people that you served with do you really feel are innocent?
Almost all of them. And like I said, I was with somebody the other day when I was in processing, and there was an MPI sergeant who sat down with me, and he basically said straight up, "Look, we know most of you shouldn't be here. It's just the politics of the day right now. So, just suck it up and deal with it." My jaw hit the table, I think, when I heard that, because he's basically admitting, the system is biased. It's just it's a political game right now. Senator Gillibrand used it as a presidential platform. She pushed all this, raised these issues that there's some sort of sexual assault epidemic in the military. And when you throw out all kinds of benefits, we're talking, Joan was going to get close to $250,000 for her allegations. You're going to have a lot of false accusers coming out of the woodwork. And like I said, there's websites out there where people are telling other people how to abuse the system. And Joan had studied, while we were supposedly married, for 8 years. That's what she did. She researched the system. And when you're a soldier or, any service member, Navy, Marines, or whatever, you have to fight two systems at the same time. You have to fight the civilian allegations, and then you also have to fight the military allegations. And you find out very quickly you don't have much of a chance with either. Now, I was very successful on the Kentucky side. I won the EPO hearing, which has almost never happened. I won, the Child Protective Service hearings and things like that. But in the end, ultimately it didn't do me any good. I'm still here at the end of the day. So you can destroy, she threatened to destroy me if I divorced her. And that's exactly what she was able to do.
Mm-hmm. Well, Chris, I think that the fact that it's really unheard of to win those EPO hearings and things like that, but you did. And actually, I think that has, gives us some solid ground to stand on now, because that doesn't usually happen. And what we have to have is an attorney to put the pieces together of how one case is directly related to the other one, in my opinion, because she was afraid she wasn't going to get that $250,000, which ultimately I think she did lose, because she lost those EPOs.
Oh, we don't know that. We don't know that. We got to follow the money a little more to find out that information, but we will find out.
Yeah. I don't believe she got that, but we can follow that and find out, because he had to be found guilty of those 14 or 15 charges she had against him, which he was not found guilty.
Right.
So that's a motive within itself for murder, in my opinion.
My goodness. Big old words. And again, this is our opinion on, and for educational purposes only and content purposes only. But I'm telling you what, this is one of the biggest stories I could ever imagine. And the other, just a little while ago, I was talking to Stacy Kit, and she said, "This is a Lifetime movie, isn't it?" And I said, "No, this is like a movie that opens in the box office and makes 125 million in the first day." You know,
Because you can't make this stuff up.
you can't. I mean, it is like
This is like a combination of Fatal Attraction and Basic Instinct.
That's
You know?
exactly
I want
it.
to say though, I'm all for people that have been abused to come forward, and I think they should definitely be taken seriously. But when you have somebody who's found to be lying, and they were about to ruin a person's life, and sentence them to prison for decades based off of false allegations. When they've been found to lie, then they should be forced to take that punishment. They should go to prison for decades.
I agree.
Life.
Agreed.
And I think that would stop this epidemic of false accusations that we have. But unfortunately, there's a lot of abuse going on, and there's a whole generation of men, especially, that are paying the price for the sins of other generations. And the system really needs to be rebalanced in a bad way.
Yes, it does. And when you were speaking, then I thought, well, why wasn't Joan? They just took her word for it that she had some alibi, which we never heard what that was. But I thought, why didn't they have her to take a polygraph or lie detector test? And then I thought, well, that's scary because she's such a, in my opinion, psychopath or sociopath. She believes her own lies, in my opinion, and could possibly pass it.
Yeah. Or maybe they did and she terribly failed, miserably failed, and we will never know about that, so there's always that kind of stuff too, just kind of slid under the rug. There are a lot of snakes in this particular story as well. Kit, you sound strong, and I think that that gives me some hope and everything. I worry a little bit, and I know your lady here that you once married and had 3 children with worries as well. And we've shed a little tears, but I know her tears are so from the heart and soul. And you are being protected by prayer, and we have you on our minds at all times.
Okay, we lost him. Didn't lose him. He only has a certain amount of time.
Yeah.
So
I hope he got to hear all that. Man, Stacy, can I just say you're the strongest woman I know, and I'm honored.
Oh, I don't know about all that.
Well, and I'm honored to be in your life, in both of your lives. I think the two of you are really, really special people, and I can't even believe this could happen to a human being like he is. Like you said, he's just this black and white kind of, he's got this black and white thing. There is just no gray area. And
that's probably where, obviously we're divorced. And so there was things, maybe we were both so strong-minded. Maybe that was a part of the issue, but we did see eye to eye on that. There was black and white and there was no gray. And his integrity and his moral fiber was really my first attraction to him, because I knew that he would be a good father and he would be a good husband. And because I saw that his ethics, and I mean, we're talking about a man that, I mean, at 6, I think I've told this story before, 16 years old, he's going to go take his family says to him, you can go get your driver's license now. And he says, no, you know what? I don't think I'm responsible enough to do that yet.
Unbelievable. Who does that?
16-year-old turns down an opportunity to drive. I mean, he just was, he always tried to do the right thing. Yeah. And I know that sounds like a broken record. I've said it so many times, but that's why I'm in such major shock that this could happen in our system. And, Crystal, you said, I'm the strongest. No, it's all of you out there who don't even know him, have never met him. Most of you I haven't met. I have been blessed to meet Crystal now. But you are standing beside this man because of your belief in him. And to me, you all right now are the heroes, and we appreciate it so very much.
Hang on, he's calling back, believe it or not.
Oh, wow.
Receiving calls from this facility, press 6.
What do I press to get him on here?
To accept this free call, press 1. To refuse,
there he is.
using Securus. You may start the conversation now.
Hey, you called my phone now. Now I got control.
Yeah.
Now I can hear you.
Hey, I just want you to know, our tears are real, our prayers are real. We have been praying really hard. Anything that we do on the outside with our group, there's a group of us. When we meet, we start it with a prayer. And I just want you to know that. I just want you to know how much we know that works, and I know you do too. And as you try to follow the life of Jesus here, and you really have been in prison, you have done just such a great job of inspiring the rest of us, and I just can't, first of all, thank you. And secondly, happy holidays, dear friend. We're going to do everything we can to get you out. 2024 may be your year.
Well, I really appreciate it, and there's been so many people that have come forward and email me and send me letters and everything over the years, and I really appreciate that and all your efforts, and I just want to wish everybody happy holidays, and considering, like you said, I hope 2024 is better for everybody.
Yeah.
So I thank you so much to everybody.
Yeah, man.
And your everything you've done here is just having amazing results. So thanks.
Yeah. And Stacy is the ultimate podcast partner. So here's, I think, the plan, Kit. When you get out, let's start saving our heroes. Like, let's start this. Let's put this into a different gear and give you some real hope here. And, we'll start it with the Kit Martin story, which will end up being this big movie and obviously the book. I want to mention that book again. Emilio Corsetti wrote, I Will Ruin You. It's the wrongful convictions. And there's an S with parentheses around it on conviction, because we're talking about the court martial and the conviction in civil or in the criminal court as well in Christian County, Kentucky. But he has got a book coming out here, and it could drop as early as February. So that's days away. That's within a couple of months here. And fingers are crossed that happens. If it doesn't drop in February, it's early March. And I truly believe that's a game changer. Do you, Stacy?
I do. Yes. I mean, when you take an author who knew nothing of any of us, and he said, I'm not forming initial opinions. Is he guilty? Is he innocent? I don't know, he says. He starts from the beginning. He investigates himself, and he says by the end of his book, Kit Martin is 100% innocent.
You can listen to episode 2 of the Free Kit Martin podcast. Take a listen to Emilio tell some of the stories. We went into some alternative theories, and, I got to tell you, Emilio has done all of his theories based on evidence, and it's absolutely fascinating. We all have our different theories on what may have really happened here, but what we know for sure is that there's a killer or killers running loose, and an innocent man is sitting in prison right now. And that is what this is all about. It's called the Free Kit Martin podcast, because we are what we are and we say what we will. And I think that a Joni episode is in order, little Miss Stacy. It's got to happen like here in the next week for Christmas for all of these people following the Kit Martin story.
I think so. I mean, I think it's got to be clear with anybody with any, I mean, you know how direct I am, and I may offend some people, but that's just who I am. And I think it's just painfully obvious who is really running around out there. I mean, that is my opinion. And I won't let that go until I take my last breath. I won't let getting Kit out of prison go.
Yeah.
It's not our job to prove who did it, but it almost seems like, unfortunately, the system is structured in such a way that if we don't prove it, then we're going to have trouble getting him out, because I'm not certain that the way the injustice system is now, it's more about processes and structure and the way things in all these mumbo jumbo laws. It's not about truth. And that bothers me. That bothers me a lot.
It's got to bother you too, doesn't it, Kit?
Yeah, like I said, I've experienced it now firsthand. I've seen it happen to hundreds of other people, and you can see it on TV, watching like Oxygen Channel and stuff like that. We see the cases, and there's absolutely no evidence. Sometimes there's not even a body. They don't even know somebody's actually been murdered. Just somebody's missing, and once an arrest is made, it just piles on. You have we were doing a class today, a counseling class, and a guy wrote a paper, and he called it the the trauma, the drama, and the lies. You know, and he talked about how, you know, the way the system is set up, it doesn't really matter. The police know that once they get an arrest, you know, if there's a crime, they just need to make an arrest. It doesn't matter if they get the right person, you know, and then they check that block, and then they kick that over to a prosecutor, and a prosecutor just wants to get some sort of conviction. And like I said before, usually 98, 99% of the time, guys will take a plea deal because they're rotting away in jail. They're pressured into it, and they know the consequences if they don't. You know, it's very rare that you get somebody who's kind of pig-headed like me and won't plead guilty to something they didn't do. So I went from, a possibility of 5 years to 4 life sentences. You know, and that's an example to everybody else. If you don't take a plea deal, wham, this is what's going to be done to you.
And you wouldn't take a plea deal because you didn't do it. I mean, it was just your own principle. You're like, hell no, I'm not going to take a plea deal. And it was, 5 to 13 years that they offered you?
I would just walk out of the jail if I took it. And it was the same with the military. You know, like I said, I did this 3-hour polygraph. They knew I hadn't done anything. They knew I wasn't a spy like she claimed, and they hadn't abused anybody. They had, all this other evidence, and I was cleared of everything. But they wanted me to take an Article 15, which is a minor punishment, but it will screw up an officer's career. And, I said, no, I won't do that. And they said, well, you have to take an Article 15 and plead guilty to it, or we're going to, court-martial. And I was like, okay, fine, we'll go court-martial. So what did they do? They piled on, went from a petty theft charge to 14 charges facing 15 years, And then they're like, well, you just resign? Will you just resign? And I was like, no, I won't just resign. We'll go to court-martial, And again, I essentially won that court-martial. They got me for a couple misdemeanors, and they're always going to get you for something. That's just the way the system is. Then I faced, life before. I faced it, and I won it then. And when Kentucky did this to me, it was very politically motivated. By the Attorney General, now Governor. And they thought they could just punt it over to the Army, and they knew that the Army could basically get any kind of win with any kind of charge, and the Army wouldn't touch it. They said no, there's nothing in this case. There's no evidence here to warrant a murder trial, and we won't do it. They took it back to the Attorney General. So
dear God.
And then they offered me the plea deal, thinking, well, he'll take that. And, and I wouldn't, and I remember my lawyer coming in, so I was facing the death penalty at that point. He came in and said, they're offering you 5 to 13. He says, that tells me everything. He tells me that they know they don't have any kind of case here. And I was like, well, yeah, I know that. And I was like, look at the cell phone data, look at my security video footage. I was at home with 3 witnesses. They know I didn't do this. But again, it doesn't really matter in the long run. If you get an officer, a police officer, or somebody to lie, as they did, and he even admitted he lied to get the indictment. Once they get that arrest, you're on the media. It was all over Fox and CNN. Airline pilot arrested, blah blah blah. Most people have formed their opinion right there without knowing anything about the case. Oh, he was arrested. He's guilty. Same when you walk into a trial. When you walk into a courtroom, they say, well, they arrested him. They're prosecuting him. He must be guilty.
Right.
And, you look at the David Cann case, that was a police officer. He was playing a basketball game with 5 to 8 people. His wife and his brother also were murdered. So he's facing all that drama and the trauma of losing his family. And they convicted him twice, I think, in a courtroom, even though he was innocent.
But just like that Harry's Law episode that we put up on TikTok from a few years back, at what point do your conscience get the best of you? And I've got to ask you that, Judge Atkins. I got to ask you that, Barbara Whaley. At what point does your conscience catch up with you? Because, wow. And anybody who chose to deceive, and that could be Scott Smith, there's a whole lot of alleged conspirators, if you will. And so we'll just leave it at that, and let's do a Joni episode for Christmas for these beautiful people, shall we? On Christmas?
Amen.
Amen.
We can do that.
We're going to do that for Christmas for the Kip Martin people.
The only good thing about this was that the book's coming out, but they can watch the trial on Court TV. They can watch the Dateline episode. They can see for themselves firsthand. So that was the one saving grace of this whole experience to me, was that Court TV tape the whole trial.
And we thank God for
You
them
know,
every day. We really do.
Yeah, you can see the lies and the manipulations of evidence firsthand. That, people don't have to take our word for it. It's all right there in color.
So just end this with a big happy holidays to your followers there, Kip.
Yeah, again, like I said, I just really appreciate you and everybody out there and all the support that I've been given. It's been a real blessing to me and my family. And like I said, I hope we can change things, not just for me, but for a lot of people out there. I've seen so much, so many people that have been falsely convicted and having their lives ruined, by, like I said, the injustice industry now that we have now. So a lot of changes need to be made to right this. And like I said, I just appreciate everybody and wish them a happy holidays.
Merry Christmas to you, sir. Happy holidays. Stacy, love you, girl.
I want to wish everybody happy holidays, but we'll be back next week with you. Thank you so much, Kit. And thank you, Crystal.
Yes, and by the way, hit us up, freekitmartin@gmail.com. Let us know anything you know. We're still looking for Joni, and we're quite uncomfortable with not knowing where she's at. So if you know Joan, Adele, Gritton, Harmon, what's her name, do let us know at freekitmartin@gmail.com, or just hit us up to say hi and let us know you're following along. We certainly appreciate it. We'll see you next week. Happy holidays.
Love you guys.
Love you guys. Bye.